Hello everyone.
I always thought that the bond between a mother and daughter was unbreakable. I raised Lisa with love, with sacrifices I thought only mothers understood. She was my everything. She was the only one I had after your father passed. It was just the two of us in this world that felt too big for two people. I remember her as a little girl, running around the house with so much energy that it left me breathless. And I, always there, always steady, always loving her with every inch of my being. But time changes things, doesn't it? It wasn't immediate, of course. I watched Lisa grow up, become independent, a successful woman, confident, determined, and always busy. And well, I was her mother. I was still proud of her, of course. But over time, I began to feel it. The distance between us. Not the kind that happens when children grow and start their own families, but something colder, something more deliberate. It was as if slowly I had become unnecessary, like I was just an extra piece in her carefully orchestrated life. Lisa began to stop visiting, stop calling. It wasn't the way it used to be. Those phone calls when she was younger, asking for advice or just telling me about her day. I would hold the phone and smile, just to hear her voice, the sound of her laughter, the joy she once brought me. But it stopped. She was busy now. So busy. She had her career, her friends, her house, and somewhere along the way she forgot about me. I was still here, in the same little house I had always known, watching the seasons change through the same window. And for the first time, I began to feel like an afterthought, a relic, placed on a shelf and forgotten. At first, I told myself it was just the normal course of life. She was growing up, starting her own family, and I was proud of that, but deep down, I felt it. The silence was too loud. And then, one day, my phone rang. It was Lisa. I hadn't heard from her in weeks, but her voice on the other end was warm, almost too warm. "Mama?" Her voice seemed softer than usual. "I've booked you a trip to a sanatorium. It'll be good for you. You need to rest and regain your strength. I've arranged everything. Just pack your things. I'll be over to pick you up in an hour." I was startled at first, surprised by her sudden concern. But it felt good to hear her voice, and I thought, maybe this is the chance to reconnect. A vacation, even if it was just for a while, sounded like something I hadn't done in years. I packed a small bag, making sure to tuck in the things I loved most, a few old photographs, my favorite sweater, and a book I hadn't finished reading. But the moment I opened the door to greet her, I knew something wasn't right. A strange man stood in front of me dressed in a plain, dark jacket with a clipboard in his hand. He smiled, but there was something off about it. Too forced, too polite. "Mrs. Ariana Lodge?" he asked, looking at me as if he already knew the answer. "Yes," I said, my voice trembling slightly, unsure why this stranger was standing on my doorstep instead of Lisa. "Good morning, ma'am," he said. "I'm here to take you to the sanatorium. Your daughter arranged everything for you." I looked past him, waiting for Lisa's car to appear, but there was no sign of it. The man seemed to read my confusion, and then he added, "Please, come with me. Your daughter is already on her way." I hesitated for a moment, the knot in my stomach tightening. I tried calling Lisa. No answer. I turned back to the man, the unease creeping into my chest. "Lisa, she said she'd be here." He gave me a reassuring smile. "She's waiting for you at the sanatorium. Just come with me. You'll be very comfortable." I stood there for a long moment, my thoughts racing. What was going on? This didn't feel like the trip Lisa had described. But I had no choice. I was too old to fight it. With a last glance at my quiet home, I followed him outside to the van. The cold air hit me like a slap, and I climbed into the back of the van, looking out the window as the man drove me further and further away from everything I knew. It wasn't a sanatorium. I knew that now. And as I sat there, watching the world pass by, the questions swirling in my head, I had one thought. This was not what she promised. The van rolled to a slow stop, and the first thing I noticed was how quiet it was. Too quiet. I'd expected bustling halls, people in their pajamas enjoying their morning coffee, nurses rushing past with cheerful smiles. But instead, there was just nothing. I looked up. The sign above the large brick building read, Silver Oaks Retirement Facility. My heart sank. This was not a sanatorium. This was not a place for a restful vacation. The man who had driven me here turned to face me, his face cold and detached, and with a voice that had lost all pretense of warmth, he said, "Well, these are your new surroundings, Mrs. Lodge. Welcome." I stared at the building. My breath caught in my throat. It was a retirement home, a place I'd always feared, never wanted, but had seen other old friends or acquaintances drift into. It had been my greatest fear, ending up in a cold, sterile place where no one remembered your name and you became just another face in the crowd, a forgotten, discarded piece of the past. For years I had told myself it would never happen to me. I would never be pushed aside like this, not by my daughter, not by anyone. But here I was. "Come on now, Mrs. Lodge," the man added with a touch of impatience. "You can't stay out here all day." I slowly unbuckled my seatbelt, my hands trembling as I reached for the door handle. The man opened it for me, and I stepped out onto the cold concrete driveway. It smelled faintly of antiseptic, and there were no flowers in sight, no bright colors, just a few wilting shrubs by the door. I stood there, still trying to make sense of it. The fear crept up my spine, but I forced it down. "I'm not weak," I told myself. "I can handle this." I took a deep breath and followed him inside. The reception area was even worse than I imagined. Bland, beige walls, plastic plants scattered around the room, and a thick clinical smell hanging in the air. There was a receptionist sitting behind a desk, but she didn't even look up when I walked in. She just nodded as if this was all normal, like this was just another day in the world where people came and went from places like this. "I'll show you to your room," the man said. He wasn't even trying to be kind. He didn't care about me. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to be here, but I had no choice. As we walked down the narrow hallway, my heart sank with every step. Each door we passed was another reminder of my own fate, my own future. It felt like I was walking through the final chapters of a book I hadn't written. The walls closed in, and the muffled sounds of people talking, coughing, and shuffling around just felt wrong. We stopped at a door near the end of the hall. "Here's your room. I'll leave you to settle in. Don't worry. You'll be fine here." He turned and walked away, his footsteps fading down the hall. I stood in the doorway, staring into the sterile room. There was a bed, a dresser, and a small window that overlooked a courtyard. But there were no personal touches, no family photos, no items that reminded me of who I was or where I'd come from. It felt like a prison. I stepped inside, my legs feeling like lead. I looked at the bed. The bed I was supposed to sleep in. The bed I was supposed to live in for the rest of my days. This is it, I thought, fighting back tears. This is how I end. I didn't even sit down. I just stood there, feeling the weight of the years and the decisions that had led me here. Lisa. The thought of her made my chest ache. How could she do this to me? I sank to the floor, wrapping my arms around myself. It wasn't a gentle ache, not a quiet sorrow. It was a deep, gnawing pain that threatened to tear me apart. Hours passed. No one came to check on me. The silence stretched on, heavy and suffocating. Every now and then, I would hear the shuffle of feet outside my door, the murmur of voices from down the hall. But no one ever knocked. No one ever spoke to me. The bed was cold when I finally climbed into it, but sleep wouldn't come. My mind raced, my thoughts tangled in confusion. I thought about Lisa again and about how she had seemed so concerned on the phone. She had promised me something different, something better than this. But now, I knew. She had lied to me. She had abandoned me. I spent the first few days like that, in a fog, unable to process what had happened. The nurses would come in, tell me to take my medicine, help me with my meals. I didn't care. I didn't care about anything. They spoke to me like I was a child, like I was incapable of making my own decisions. One of the nurses, a young woman with short blonde hair, came in on the third day and said, "How are we feeling today, Mrs. Lodge? Feeling better?" I looked at her blankly. Feeling better? What did she mean? Better from what? There was nothing wrong with me. There had never been anything wrong with me. "Just a little tired," I said, my voice hoarse. "Well," she said, "it's good you're here. We have a doctor coming in soon to check on you. He'll want to see how you're doing. I know it can be hard adjusting to this place." Hard. Number. This wasn't just hard. This was wrong. I wanted to scream, to fight back, but I didn't. Instead, I just nodded, turning my face away from her and staring out the window. I couldn't speak. I couldn't say what I wanted to say. But deep down, I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to stay here, not forever. I was going to get out. Somehow, I was going to find a way to escape this place. This wasn't my life. Not yet. Not like this. Monica's voice softened. "Then we might have something here. If your daughter has been manipulating you, using your name without your permission, we could have grounds to challenge her actions. I'm going to look into it." The next day, I was pacing my tiny room, unable to focus on anything. I was so close, I could feel it. If there was any hope of getting out of this place, it lay with Monica. That evening, just as I was about to give up, my phone rang again. It was Monica. "Ariana," she said, her voice excited. "I've looked into your situation. I checked the property records, and I spoke with a few contacts. It seems your daughter did make some changes to the property. Specifically, she has gained access to your house and made herself the primary beneficiary. It wasn't just about placing you here. She wanted something more." I felt my stomach drop. "What do you mean? She took my house?" "Yes," Monica said. "She illegally transferred ownership, and that's something we can challenge in court. If you didn't sign those papers, then they're fraudulent. This is a serious issue, Ariana. We've got a case." I let out a breath I didn't realize I had been holding. "So, you can help me?" "I can," Monica said, her voice now firm with confidence. "We're going to fight this. We'll file the papers tomorrow. This is just the beginning, but I promise you, Ariana, we can get you out of here and back to your home. It's going to take time, but I'll be with you every step of the way." I felt something shift inside me. A glimmer of hope, a spark that had been missing for so long. The next morning I woke up early. It was a fresh day, and for the first time in a long while I felt like there was a way out. It was a day like any other in the home, but for the first time in what felt like forever, I had a plan. I knew what I had to do, and I wasn't going to let anything stop me. Lisa thought she could erase me. She thought she could sweep me aside and take what was mine without a second thought. But she didn't understand who she was dealing with. The papers were in place, and Monica was ready to move forward. The case was strong. It wasn't just about the power of attorney. It was about the house. My house. The place I had worked for, sacrificed for, and built with my own hands. The place where I had raised Lisa. The place that had once been filled with laughter, love, and memories. And now it was time to take it back. I sat at the small table by my window, looking out at the gray skies, feeling the weight of what I was about to do. The thought of it should have made me angry, but it didn't. I was calm, resolute. This wasn't revenge. This was justice. The first step was to file the lawsuit. Monica had worked tirelessly, and now the papers were ready. The claim was simple. Lisa had forged documents, manipulated me, and taken control of my property without my consent. It was illegal. It was wrong. And I wasn't going to let her get away with it. When the lawsuit was filed, I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of relief. For the first time in weeks, I felt in control. I was no longer the victim. I wasn't the helpless old woman she had hoped I would become. The days following the filing were tense. Monica and I kept in close contact, preparing for the legal battle that was sure to follow. We spent hours going over the evidence, building a case that would prove Lisa's deceit. But even as I worked, a cold anger began to build inside me. It wasn't just about the house anymore. It was about the betrayal, the lies, the abandonment. How could she do this to me? How could the woman I had loved, the one I had raised, treat me like this? The phone call came 2 weeks later. I had been waiting for it, dreading it, but also knowing that it was the moment everything would change. "Ariana, it's done," Monica said, her voice quiet but firm. "The judge has ruled in your favor. The house is yours again. It's legally yours." I let the words sink in. For a moment, I didn't know how to react. There was no joy, no celebration. It was just a fact. My home was back in my hands. But the real weight of the decision had yet to hit me. And then came the next part of the news. "We've also frozen Lisa's assets. Everything she has gained from this fraud is being taken from her. Her business, her house, everything. It's gone," Monica continued. "It's the price she has to pay for what she did." I felt a strange sense of peace wash over me, though it was tinged with sadness. The years I had spent building a life, working so hard to give her everything she ever wanted, and now it was all falling apart. For both of us. Lisa had made her choice. And now she would pay the price. When the news hit, Lisa didn't take it well. She tried to fight the ruling, tried to claim that I was being manipulated, that I wasn't in my right mind. But it was too late. The evidence had been laid out and the courts had spoken. The house was mine, and there was nothing she could do about it. In the weeks that followed, Lisa lost everything. Her business, the house she had moved into, all the possessions she had claimed as her own. It all slipped through her fingers. She didn't just lose material things. She lost her pride, her reputation, and most importantly, her connection to me. I had watched her break. I had seen the phone calls she made, the attempts to salvage her broken empire, but it was all in vain. She had built her life on lies, and now it was crumbling. But what struck me the most was not her loss, but the fact that she never truly understood what she had done. Even as she lost everything, she couldn't bring herself to apologize. One evening, I stood in front of the window of my house, watching as Lisa packed her things. The car was loaded, the boxes were piled high, but she didn't look at me, not once. And that was the moment I realized she would never get it. She would never understand the pain she had caused. But that wasn't my burden to carry anymore. The house was now mine again. The legal battle was over, and I was free. It was time to move forward, to live my life without looking back. I didn't care about the money. I didn't care about the material things she had taken from me. What mattered was the one thing that no one could take away: my dignity. I walked through the house, touching the walls, the furniture, feeling the history of my life pulse through the rooms. This house, this place, it was my legacy. It was the one thing that was truly mine. And for the first time in a long time, I felt whole again. The days stretched out into an endless blur. The victory in court, the return of my house, the cold satisfaction of reclaiming what was mine. All of that felt so distant now. It should have been a moment of joy, a moment of celebration, but there was a hollow emptiness in my heart. I had won the battle, but what was the cost? I lay on my bed in the stillness of the quiet house, the sound of the wind outside, the occasional creak of the old wooden floorboards beneath me. Everything felt so unbearably silent. Lisa was gone. There was no one left. No one to fill the empty spaces that had once been filled with laughter, with life. I cried into my pillow that night. Silent tears soaked the fabric as the reality of it all hit me harder than I had ever imagined. I'm alone. What had I done wrong? Where had I failed her? I had been a mother to Lisa. No, more than a mother. I had given her everything. I had worked my hands to the bone for her, spent sleepless nights trying to build a life she could be proud of, and in return, she had betrayed me. I thought about all the years I had spent with her, the sacrifices I had made, the sleepless nights when she was sick as a child, the way I had skipped meals just to make sure she had enough. And now she was gone. She had abandoned me when I needed her the most. The house felt like a grave. I couldn't help but think that maybe this was what it was meant to be. My final resting place. No more visits, no more phone calls, no more love. Just me and the silence. The worst part? I would never know why. Why had she done it? And then, on one quiet evening, the phone rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but I picked it up anyway. It was her. "Mom!" Her voice thick with emotion, barely a whisper. "Mom, it's me. Lisa." I held my breath. I didn't know if I should answer, but I did. "What is it, Lisa?" I said, my voice hoarse. I'm sorry," she choked out, the sound of her sobs breaking through the static. I've been awful. I don't know what came over me. I never meant for things to get this bad." Her words were like a knife to my heart. Was this an apology? Or was she just trying to ease her conscience? My chest tightened, and the tears that had dried up over the past few days began to come back. "Lisa, what do you mean?" I asked, my voice shaking. I didn't know how to deal with everything," she said, her words pouring out in a rush. "You've become a burden to me. I thought you'd understand. I thought it would be better for you, for me, for both of us. I had to put you in the home. I couldn't take care of you anymore. I was overwhelmed. Her words crushed me. A burden, I whispered. You thought I was a burden. Yes, she said, her voice soft and full of guilt. I was trying to protect you. I didn't know how to help you. You were so hard on yourself and I couldn't keep up. I didn't know what else to do, so I thought putting you in a home was the best option. I never thought it would end up like this. The anger inside me swelled, but I forced it down. I needed to hear her, needed to understand. But Lisa, I said, my voice rising, I've been there for you. I've done everything for you, everything. I sacrificed my life, my health, my happiness, and you never once offered to help me. You never once tried to make things easier for me. And now, you're calling me a burden? This is my home. I lived here all my life. This was my decision, my choice. I could hear her sobbing on the other end, but I couldn't stop myself. You think I didn't suffer? You think I didn't work every day to make sure you had a better life? You think you're the only one who's ever struggled? I worked my fingers to the bone for you, and now you throw me away like trash. There was a silence on the other end of the line. I could hear her breathing, heavy and broken. I could hear her pain, but it didn't change what she had done to me. It didn't change the betrayal. I'm not a burden, Lisa, I shouted, my voice filled with fury. You just wanted my house. You never cared about me, only about what I could give you. I slammed the phone down, the anger coursing through my veins. How could she say those things to me? How could she justify everything she had done? For a long time, I just sat there, staring at the phone in my hand. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the audacity, the cruelty. And just like that, everything I had feared became true. My daughter had never truly cared for me. She cared only for what I could provide her. Now, she had everything she wanted, but I had nothing left to give her. The next day, I found myself walking through the house in a daze. The weight of the conversation still heavy on my shoulders, the weight of the reality of what had happened sinking in. I couldn't trust her, not anymore. I would never forgive her for this. Never. The days after the phone call felt like a blur. It was as if the world had shifted beneath my feet, and I was no longer sure of where I stood. I had never imagined that my own daughter would betray me in such a way. But now, I know that sometimes the people we love the most are the ones who can hurt us the deepest. As the weeks passed, I found myself moving through life with a new sense of purpose. Though it wasn't easy, there were moments when the pain of betrayal would rush over me like a wave. But then I would remind myself that I was not the woman I used to be. I wasn't the fragile old woman who could be ignored, pushed aside, and forgotten. I was stronger than that. I found peace in the small things. In the mornings when the sun would filter through the window, in the smell of fresh coffee brewing, in the comfort of sitting in my own chair once again. The house was my sanctuary, my place of strength. No matter how much Lisa had tried to take it from me, it was still mine. And then, one evening, I stood in front of the mirror looking at the reflection of the woman I had become, the woman who had fought for everything she held dear, the woman who had fought back, even when everything seemed lost. I had endured betrayal, abandonment, and isolation, but in the end, it was my own strength that had brought me through, and now I wanted to share that strength with you. I turned on my camera, sat down in my living room, And for the first time in a long time, I spoke not just for myself, but for all of us, the ones who have been hurt, the ones who have been discarded, the ones who have been silenced. Hello, everyone. My name is Ariana Larch, and I'm here today to tell you something important. If you've been left behind, if you've been treated like you don't matter, I want you to hear me now. You do matter. I paused, letting the words sink in. It wasn't easy to speak out, to open up about the pain, the betrayal. But I knew I had to, for myself, for others like me. I've lived a long life, I continued, and I've given a lot to people I thought I could trust. But sometimes, the people you love, the ones you'd do anything for, will disappoint you. They'll hurt you. They'll forget everything you've done for them and use you when it's convenient. I let out a sigh, steadying myself. But that doesn't mean we're finished. It doesn't mean we give up. I've learned that even in the hardest times, when everything seems lost, we can still find the strength to rise. We can still choose to fight. We can still choose to live on our own terms. I looked directly into the camera now, my voice clear and firm. Lisa thought she could break me. She thought she could take everything from me and leave me with nothing. But she was wrong. You see, what she didn't realize is that she didn't just take my house. She took something from herself. She took the love of a mother, and that is something you can't just get back. I paused, the anger and pain that had once filled me now replaced with a sense of peace. But what I want you all to know, I said, my voice softer now, is that no matter how much pain we go through, no matter how much betrayal we endure, we can always rebuild. It's not too late to take back what's ours. It's not too late to reclaim our dignity, our self-worth, and our future. And no one can take that from us unless we let them. I smiled, though there were tears in my eyes. So, if you're out there feeling like I felt, lost and alone, I want you to know you're not alone. You have the power to take back control. You have the power to rise, to fight, and to live with dignity, no matter how old you are or how much the world tries to make you feel small. I leaned forward, my voice steady. It's never too late. Never too late to stand up for yourself, to say no, to choose your own path. And if anyone tries to take your house, your life, your peace, fight for it, because you deserve it. You deserve your place in this world. I sat back, taking a deep breath. The finality of the words felt good, like a weight lifting off my shoulders. Thank you for listening. If my story resonates with you, if you've ever felt the way I did, I hope you'll share your thoughts with me. Leave a comment. Tell me your story. Let's stand together as strong as we can. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because our voices matter. We matter. I pressed the stop button on the camera, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of peace. I had shared my truth. That was all I could do now. The world may have tried to break me, but I was still standing. I was still here.
Bye bye.